Initial function check with the MR556 upper using MEN M193 in an HK magazine. Hopefully, all works. Okay, that's concerning. Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well. So I'm out at the range. This is probably going to be the first video I do on this eventually G95K build, but for now it's just an MR556 upper on a Aero Precision lower currently. I wanted to talk about some trigger problems. So originally I was just going to use my AR-15 DPMS lower as a temporary just placeholder, which has a Wilson Combat trigger in it. Now, as you saw from that first bit of footage, was having some issues with that where it would not engage the firing pin safety. And additionally, what was interesting is if you notice I was struggling with the charging handle back here afterwards, that is because the hammer would not even reset. And I was doing a bit of reading after that happened on HK Pro, saw a lot of other posts, people were saying, so it seems like some people have that same sort of issue where because of the hammer geometry on that Wilson Combat trigger, you can't even reset it on an MR556. Which is pretty weird. So what I have here now is a Timney 667S. I've already tested dry firing, and I can at the least reset it. So now we're just gonna see if it'll fire, and hopefully it will. I've got the correct buffer and everything in here, so we shall see. And I'm gonna be using, at least I should say I'll be starting, if everything works, I'll be doing some other ammo as well, but starting with the exact same MEN ammo that I introduced yesterday. So everything chambered correctly. Again, at least that much is working. Here's hoping it actually fires this time. Here we go. Perfect. So first two shots, it's working. I'll go and fire 5 just in case. All right, so a very good start. Next up then, like I said, I wanted to test some other ammo. Gonna be moving to some Vimple ammo. The Russian ammo tends to have a harder primer, so just gonna see if it can still set those rounds off, and hopefully it can without any issue. Okay, very promising so far. Next up is the Vimple rounds. I've done a video on these in the past on an accuracy test, never in this rifle. I was in my AR-15 build, the side charger. So let's see how this does. I've just got 5 rounds in here. We'll do the same. So the third trigger I'm going to be testing, and this will be the one I'll actually be sticking with, assuming it works, which it should. This is the SLT-1 trigger from KE Arms. I found out about this through InRange. They did a video on the SLT-2, and they had it on an MR556 upper, so it should work. Only difference is this is curved. But before I installed this, I did want to really quickly talk about the Wilson Combat trigger that I have in here currently and why it's not working. So first, very first, let me just show this works on a standard AR. So you can hear that, nice and normal, dry fired. Go ahead and do that and reset, nice and normal. I'm gonna go ahead and switch this lower now onto my MR556 upper. So here's the lower. You can see I got the HK buffer in here, so everything will be working. So here it is all put together. To just show really quick, bolt carrier does go back, just like normal. It's on fire. You can hear, if I go here now though, you can see I am pulling back and it's not wanting to come back. So if I open this up here, you can see the trigger, or the hammer, did actually go forward. So hopefully that demonstrates what's going on with this. With that, I'm going to go ahead and take this Wilson out. It's a good trigger, of course, standard AR, but not a mil-spec hammer apparently. They didn't follow mil-spec geometry because any mil-spec trigger will work in a 416 or MR556 upper. And there's not a whole lot of triggers that don't work, so it's pretty interesting. But anyway, I'll get this popped in and we'll test if this one works. So here's that SLT-1, got it put in, nice and easy installation. Let's go ahead and do a quick function check. So you can see currently, hammer is cocked. I'm gonna go ahead and get that upper on here. Here we are. So let's do a quick function check here. Hopefully all works. So, dry fire and reset. Perfect. So, the initial function check has passed. One last thing I did want to talk about before we head out to the range is just what I'm going to be doing with this lower here, because kind of weird as a concept, and also it just looks weird because I have my lower here painted in camo, but you know, DPMS lower on an HK upper is kind of weird. I get that. This is just temporary, so don't worry, I'm not going to be creating an unholy abomination. It's only a temporary unholy abomination. Eventually what I'm going to be going with is an ADM4 lower for the time being. This is just, it's what I have on hand, so it's what I'm using. The reason I'm not going with one of the HK's lowers is because I am going for the G95K. I wouldn't even say clone build, but I'm heavily inspired by it. But because of that, part of it that I really care about is it has an ambi bolt catch. 416A5 and later has that. And you can get Black Ops Defense will mill out your lower, or HK lower, if you have that and you want that. However, I was having a lot of trouble finding an actual A5 ambi bolt catch, like the part itself. So that's a big reason why I went with the ADM4, because it's just that pretty rare tiny part is just already on there. As far as most of the functionality is concerned and the outward appearance, the ADM4 does come pretty close. It won't have the HK markings and all of that, but for what I'm wanting to do with this build, it is perfect. So that's what I'm going to be going with. I already bought one, it's just not here yet. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that really quick. So without further ado, let's go out to the range. All right, so I'm here at the range. I got that SLT-1 on here. I'm going to be doing the exact same test I did with both the Timney and the Wilson Combat, starting with 5 rounds of MEN ammo, assuming all works properly. Going to be moving to 5 rounds of Vimple. So let's get started. As usual, chambered fine. Let's see what we got. Here's Vimple. Okay, we do have failure to fire there. First one fired fine. Let's see what we got on the third. Another. All right, that's interesting. So we had 3 failures to fire, and 2 of those, of course, actually worked. I'll take a look at those a bit. So I dug up those rounds that didn't go off. You can see here, they do have a pretty good primer strike on all of them, but it ultimately wasn't enough to actually set them off. That is why I like to actually do this test. So this does indicate that it looks like the KE Arms SLT-1 right here does use probably not as strong of springs. Of course, the Timney worked fine. The Wilson Combat simply did not engage the firing pin safety on this. So kind of a mixed bag. I still like this KE Arms trigger. It is what I'm going to be sticking with. It's not the biggest issue to me that it doesn't set off these Vimple, because I don't have a whole lot of these anymore, and with the Russian ammo ban and these becoming a bit harder, I won't have many of these left for much longer. I'll just fire these off in my side charger or something like that. But ultimately, just wanted to talk a bit in this video about a few triggers. Of course, this isn't a definitive list, but just talking about a small amount of the aftermarket triggers out there on the for AR-15s and how they work with MR556s. So hopefully that was interesting or informative. Let me know if you have any other questions in the comments. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and see you all in the next one.